Radhe Radhe. Today is Saturday, 23rd March 2024. Here we are to present this recap video for today's Bhagavad Gita study session. Along with me, here is Mummy.
Radhe Radhe.
Bringing up the screen, you're going to see that we covered one verse today at length, a lot of commentary to it, a lot of verses and shlokas, chapter 8, verse 22. Of course, preceding that was the usual recap quiz. So we encourage you to take a look at the description for this video, go to the usual community portal page, look at these slides, and familiarize yourself with all those questions and answers. So keep that in mind, including even looking for the flyer-based question, new kind, that we'll hopefully see on a very regular basis. Next up then, we have chapter 8, verse 22.
Purusha parah partha bhaktya labhyastvananyaya yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam.
So chapter 8, verse 22, the catchphrase here is DVD, divinity via devotion. So something to keep in mind, but again, to attain God, to have that full purity and divinity, it can happen only through devotion or bhakti. Sri Krishna says that in his own words right here in chapter 8, verse 22, that the Supreme Divine Personality is, of course, greater than everything that exists, all-pervading in all living beings, and in fact, living beings are situated in him. Yet, he can be known only through devotion. We went through the commentary where Swamiji described that God is not, present only in some places or just 25% here and there. And whereas in contrast, his personal form is 100%. That's not true. He is all pervading, all permeating. So he is everywhere, including residing within us. And likewise, of course, we reside within God. But important to note is that God residing within us, all pervaded throughout us. And yet we sometimes cannot recognize that full latency, which is why the example from the Shandilya Bhakti Darshan, or as we mentioned in class, the Kalarnava Tantra, the example of the cow. A cow has milk in it, but suppose it's weak, the milk itself cannot do anything. In contrast, if we extract that milk, convert it into yogurt, churn it, make it yogurt, sprinkle some black pepper on it, and then give it back to that same cow, the cow gets cured. Powerful imagery and a visual, which again, we want you to, of course, remember and recognize from the flyer as well. So for us, the takeaway is, when we're weak, how can our latent power be churned to get us fully cured? That's how we want to, get a takeaway from here. So the cow example visually helps us connect to what is to be learned. And for us, as we learned in class, and as Swamiji says, we have to, of course, recognize God and practice worship through bhakti. Key element being intimacy. In the all-pervading form, the intimacy may not be there. Therefore, we have to practice devotion, practice bhakti, and then not just with our efforts, but with the grace of God, we can get that divine Yogmaya energy to permeate us, permeate our mind, senses, our intellect, saturate us. So imbue, that's a word we wanted you to add to your English dictionaries. So that divine Yogmaya energy imbues our senses, mind, and intellect. And that is going to get us more and more connected and closer to God, closer to that yoga and union that we seek. Again, Swamiji mentioned that the very last verse of chapter 6, verse 47, Sri Krishna had said, the devotees who are engaged in devotion to him, those Sri Krishna considers to be the highest. Here we have an extension of that word ananyaya, which is by no other path, which is why Swamiji presents a lot of other verses, shlokas, and scriptural references to help us appreciate that there can be karma, there could be gyan, there could be ashtang, but with any of these pillars, the absence of bhakti makes them incomplete, or as Maharajji says, like dead bodies without life heirs. So a lot of examples from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Maharajji, the Bhagavatam, Maharajji is, of course, Bhakti Shatak, and then, of course, from the Ramayana. You can have all these different practices, but without devotion, one will never attain God. Mummy, I'm going to pass it over to you.
So very well explained. And Sri Krishna in this verse is telling us that how without devotion he cannot be achieved. And Swamiji, through many examples from different scriptures, he has told us that the other scriptures are also saying the same thing. We can do our karam, we can increase our knowledge, we can do lots of austerities, but unless our mind is attached to God in true, loving, exclusive devotion, we cannot reach Golok. And we did see one of Swamiji's video from last year's family camp Bhakti Shatak, where he explains this point that really proved that without bhakti, we cannot reach God. So Gagan, can you show that little?
Yes, certainly. And did you want us to take away any important Sanskrit words first?
Sanskrit word here is ananya. Ananya. Usually ananya is used exclusive for devotion. Now ananya. Ananya means there is no other path besides devotion. Devotion, attachment to God, purification of your mind, and reaching Golok. A very plain and simple mantra.
Wonderful. So ananyaya, without another, and also by no other path. Therefore, the path we have to take is bhakti. So as Mummy said, let's listen for just a couple of minutes, one of the segments from Swamiji's lecture on Bhakti Shatak.
He is now talking about the other sadhans, spiritual practices. One is karma, the other is yoga, and the third is gyan. So this karma, yoga, and gyan, he says, they are incomplete without bhakti. Karma has got strict rules. The karma kand, the rituals. You do them perfectly. Although it's impossible in the age of Kali, but supposing you do, it will bestow on you the fruit of going to the celestial abodes. Without bhakti, karma is not sufficient to reach God. Yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga, is the mechanical process of controlling the mind. And finally, chitta vritti nirodh. You bring the mind completely into control. Stop thinking, stop thinking. But will it help you reach the supreme destination? Maharishi Patanjali himself says, even the yogi will have to surrender to God. Ishvaraha pranidhanat. In 196 sutras of the Yoga Darshan, the great sage Maharishi Patanjali has put in 3 times, surrender to God, surrender to God, surrender to God.
So indeed, lots to learn from there, and we'll send the link, of course, always through the slides. Again, check the description. You'll find a link to this video as well. And we do encourage you to watch the remaining 9 or so minutes that we covered in class for that full segment, and just appreciate more and more the importance of bhakti, devotion, in being able to attain God.
So surrender, surrender, and surrender. That is the mantra. When you surrender, that is when God graces you. Then when God graces you, then you are able to see God in his personal divine form and also in his all-pervading form. So you can then feel God everywhere. And then devotion becomes much easier. And God is known only through pure devotion. He is Antasthani. Antasthani, that means he is situated within us. And still, when the doctor checks us with his stethoscope, he cannot feel that God is sitting here. It is only with God's grace we will come to know and we'll start feeling that God is sitting in me, God is sitting in you, God is in nature, God is in his personal divine form. And slowly that is how our bhakti, our pure devotion and love for God will start increasing. And that is the way to Golok.
Absolutely, and very, very inspiring. We hope everyone continues their practice and review along their spiritual journeys. We, of course, look forward to meeting you next time. That's Saturday, 30th March, 2024. Same 8 a.m. Central Time in the US and 6:30 p.m. in India. Till then, thank you so much. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.